You can find just about anything on YouTube, everything from DIY tutorials to weird conspiracy theories. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll come across some pretty disturbing stuff that you wouldn't expect to see. One such place is on a channel called May May. May May is home to over 240 videos, all focused on dogs, but not in a cute or playful way. The videos and thumbnails show these animals in uncomfortable and suggestive situations that are hard to watch. It's the kind of content that makes you wonder how this is even allowed on a platform like YouTube. And do you know what's really mind-blowing? The channel's reach. We're talking millions of views and thousands of subscribers engaging with content that should never be there in the first place. How did this get so popular? And more importantly, why is it still up? The stuff on May May isn't what you'd expect to find on a platform like YouTube. They're using dogs in a way that feels really off, even exploitative. The thumbnails show the dogs in awkward, almost suggestive positions, and the video titles are just as unsettling. Some of the titles include, "The funny mum dog playing with human." "The mum dog is playing with cucumber." "We're working to massage my mum dog." It's clear that these videos are designed to provoke a reaction, but not in the way typical pet channels do. When you actually watch the videos, it becomes obvious how exploitative they really are. The person behind the camera often zooms in on the dog's private parts, sometimes even touching them or recording when the dog is cleaning itself. What's really unsettling is the kind of audience these videos are pulling in. Just a quick look at the comments shows that these aren't just random viewers, they're people who are fully invested, encouraging more of this disturbing content. It's obvious the channel has built a small but committed community around something seriously troubling. They're not just watching, they're sharing it, talking about it, and even pushing for more. You should show yours to compare the two. Amazingly beautiful. She knows how to F all day. She enjoys foreplay. It seems she's used to it. Thank you, sir. Carry the dog to the rice field so that it is level and can be inserted all the way in. This kind of behavior shows that there's a specific audience being targeted and catered to, one that is disturbingly comfortable with what they're seeing. It's not uncommon to find videos with titles that leave little to the imagination or entire playlists dedicated to the same disturbing themes. But then, almost everything disappeared. Whilst working on this video, the channel, which had been filled with hundreds of public videos, suddenly went dark. Nearly all of the videos were set to private overnight. It was like watching someone erase their tracks in real time. It wasn't hard to figure out why. The creator himself left a comment on one of his remaining public videos, complaining, "No ads. Yellow and restricted." YouTube had cracked down on his channel, stripping away its ability to earn revenue. But instead of deleting everything, he chose to hide it. Was this just a temporary move, a way to wait out the restrictions? Or was he saving the content for another platform, or maybe even another YouTube channel? And that's when I found CatCapQ. Hidden in a playlist on the channel was a channel almost identical to May May, but for cats. Something about it felt familiar. The videos, the settings, even the dogs who would sometimes make an appearance, all eerily similar. It didn't take long to connect the dots. This channel is being run by the same person, simply uploading under a new name. With over 500 videos and 2,000 subscribers, CatCapQ seems to be his second attempt at one thing: making money. You see, the channel May May wasn't making him much money. Like he said in a comment, his content is yellow and restricted, and in YouTube's words, it means that he's turned on monetization for a video, but their automated systems or policy specialists believe that the video doesn't meet the advertiser-friendly content guidelines. As a result, his earnings will dip. But here's the shocking part. This new channel is running ads. It isn't restricted like May May. It's likely that CatCapQ is part of the YouTube Partner Program, which means someone at YouTube had to manually review the channel and decided it was okay for monetization. Think about that for a second. Someone actually looked at those thumbnails, titles and videos, all centered around animal exploitation, and thought, yeah, this is fine for ads. It's insane that a channel like this could pass human review and still be deemed suitable for generating revenue. And it's clear that nothing has changed. The content remains just as weird, and the comments are equally disturbing. It's like the channel hasn't skipped a beat, continuing to post the same exploitative material with no real consequences. And this is just 2 channels we're talking about. When you look at the suggested videos linked to these, I found more channels with similar content. Who knows how many are out there, flying under the radar and profiting off the same disgusting material? It feels like we're seeing a new tactic for exploiting animals on these platforms. Remember those fake animal rescue videos that were everywhere on YouTube and other platforms a while back? People were staging dangerous situations just to film a rescue and rake in the views. After all the backlash, those videos seemed to disappear. But now it looks like this could be the next way to cash in, using these animals in sexually suggestive and exploitative ways to attract the wrong types of people to their videos. But with so many viewers and subscribers, we really need to find out one thing. Where are these viewers coming from? Are these videos being shared in hidden online communities, or are they just the entry point into something even more disturbing on platforms like Twitter or Telegram? It's hard to know for sure, but it's a worrying thought. It makes you wonder if these channels are acting as gateways into something much worse. There's something about abandoned YouTube channels that just feels off. Maybe it's the silence that hangs around, like an empty room frozen in time. And when those channels are used as personal diaries, it gets even creepier. It's like stumbling across someone's private thoughts, their innermost feelings laid bare for the whole world to see, even if they didn't realize it at the time. One such channel is MOSB 46PGH, created by George Alfred Sodini on February 8, 2008. Only 2 videos were ever uploaded. They seem ordinary at first, just a man talking to the camera. But as you watch, there's an undercurrent of something darker. Both videos were homework assignments for a self-help seminar Sodini was attending, but they also hint at his feelings of isolation and disconnection from the world around him. These videos weren't popular, barely seen by anyone at the time, but looking back now, they feel like the pieces of a disturbing puzzle, clues to a tragic ending no one could have predicted. Because just over a year later, George Sodini would commit an act of violence that left a community in shock. George Alfred Sodini seemed like a regular guy on the outside. Born in 1960, he was 48 years old and worked as a systems analyst at the law firm K&L Gates in Pittsburgh. He lived alone in Scott Township, Pennsylvania, a quiet, nondescript existence that didn't hint at the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. But inside, Sodini was struggling. He'd been lonely for years, feeling completely disconnected from the world around him. The last time he had a girlfriend was in the mid-1980s, and the frustration of that dry spell festered into something much darker. He believed that no matter what he did, no woman would ever be interested in him. This wasn't just a passing thought. It consumed him, twisting his perception of himself and everyone around him. In a desperate attempt to change his life, Sodini attended a self-help seminar that promised to teach men how to be more successful with women. The topics ranged from superficial tips, like which colour necktie to wear, to more complex advice on overcoming childhood trauma. For Sodini, this was a lifeline, a way to fix what he believed was fundamentally broken inside him. One of the seminar's assignments was to create a video tour of his home. The idea was to make his living space more inviting and attractive to women. In his video tour, Sodini walks through his house, talking about various upgrades and changes he's made. But even as he follows the assignment, there's a sense of detachment in his voice. It's like he's going through the motions, checking off a list, but not truly believing in what he's saying.
32 inch, It's my computer. Let me pan out a little bit. Computer is connected to the stereo, which I listen to my MP3s and everything else. Pan to the other side. Speakers on each side are large. They double as end tables. Okay, couch and chair, they match. The woman will really be impressed.
It's a glimpse into the life of a man desperately trying to find a solution to his loneliness, using whatever tools were available to him, even if they seemed superficial and inadequate. By November of that year, Sodini's frustration had turned into something much darker. He stopped making YouTube videos and instead started writing online diaries. These entries are chilling to read now. They're filled with anger, resentment, and a growing obsession with revenge. He fixated on the idea that women and society as a whole were deliberately rejecting him. In one of his entries he wrote, "Girls and women don't even give me a second look anywhere. There is something blatantly wrong with me that no goddamn person will tell me what it is." He began to outline what he called his exit plan, a euphemism for a horrific act he was planning. He wanted to make people pay attention, to force them to see the pain he felt every day. He wrote about his frustrations with his family, his job, and most disturbingly, his thoughts about hurting others. "Many of the young girls here look so beautiful as to not be human. Very edible," he wrote in December 2008. In January 2009, George Sodini made his first attempt to carry out the attack he had been planning for months. He walked into the same LA fitness gym with guns loaded and ready. But at the last moment, something stopped him. "I chickened out," he wrote in his diary afterwards. "I brought the loaded guns, everything. Hell." For most people, backing out would have been a turning point, a chance to reconsider and get help. But for Sodini, it seemed to deepen his resolve. Over the next several months, his diary entries became even more erratic and disturbing. He wrote obsessively about his feelings of rejection, his anger towards women, and his frustration that he couldn't change his life, no matter how hard he tried. Then, on August 4th, 2009, he decided to try again. It was around 8:15 p.m., and the women's aerobics class at the LA Fitness Gym in Collier Township, a suburb of Pittsburgh, was just getting started. Sodini walked in, carrying a duffel bag. He placed it on the floor, turned off the lights, and without a word, began shooting. He fired 52 rounds from 2 Glock 9mm pistols. People tried to escape or hide, but the dark, crowded room offered little protection. When the shooting stopped, 3 women were dead, and 9 others were injured. Sodini then took his own life with a .45 caliber revolver. A third gun, a .32 caliber pistol, was found in his pocket, but it hadn't been used. The victims who lost their lives that night were Heidi Overmere, 46, Elizabeth Gannon, 49, and Jody Billingsley, 38. They were ordinary women who had come to the gym expecting nothing more than their usual workout, unaware that their lives would be cut short in such a senseless act of violence. George Sodini's YouTube channel is still up to this day, leaving a disturbing digital remnant of a man disconnected from reality. It's eerie to watch him talk about his home, almost as if he's trying to convince himself that he's okay. But there's a hollowness in his words, a sense that he's disconnected from the reality of his own life. The videos aren't cries for help. They're more like a strange, forced performance from someone who's already slipping away. What remains on his channel now is a haunting reminder of a disturbed mind, detached, isolated, and utterly alone. There's no redemption or understanding to be found, just the remnants of a man who was far gone long before anyone noticed.
I'm going to post this and see what comes back.
Family vlogging channels seem innocent enough, just parents sharing their everyday lives. But there's something unsettling about them. Think about it. Kids growing up with a camera in their face, their every tantrum, every tear, every embarrassing moment broadcast for millions to see. It's like living in a reality show they never signed up for. And it's no surprise these channels often get slammed with criticism. One of the most notorious was 8 Passengers. Ruby Franke, the mum behind the channel, built her brand around being the picture-perfect parent, guiding her 6 kids through life with a firm hand and a strict set of rules. On the surface, it all looked pretty wholesome. Family dinners, morning routines, and good old-fashioned discipline. But if you looked closer, things weren't quite right. The cracks in that perfect facade started showing. What felt like loving guidance to some seemed more like control and punishment to others. Behind closed doors, the reality was far more disturbing. The story of 8 Passengers went from wholesome family content to a disturbing glimpse into a home where control and punishment were routine, as people learned what was going on when the cameras stopped rolling. Ruby Franke started the 8 Passengers YouTube channel in January 2015, right when family vlogging was taking off. YouTube was flooded with parents documenting their daily lives, and Ruby's channel quickly stood out. It wasn't just cute kids and family adventures. Ruby was sharing her no-nonsense approach to parenting, and people couldn't get enough. By the next year, her videos were pulling in tens of thousands of views. She told a local news station that filming her family helped her live in the present and just enjoy the kids. Her vlogs painted a picture of a typical suburban Mormon family, homeschooling, cooking together, and handling the chaos of raising 6 kids: Shari, Chad, Abby, Julie, Russell, and Eve. It was the kind of content that felt both relatable and aspirational. But it wasn't all praise. As more people tuned in, some started to feel uneasy. Ruby's idea of tough love sometimes felt a little too tough. Punishments, like withholding meals or sending kids to isolation for minor misbehaviours, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. What some saw as strict parenting, others saw as crossing a line. But as the audience grew, so did the criticism. Little things in the videos started catching people's attention. An offhand comment here, a stern reprimand there. The more people watched, the more they began to question what was really happening in the Franke household. Was it just strict parenting, or was there something more going on? Behind the scenes, the picture-perfect image was starting to crack, and viewers were beginning to see that the story Ruby was sharing wasn't the whole truth. In August 2019, the Frankes sent their oldest son, Chad, to the Anasazi Foundation Wilderness Therapy Program. This wasn't your typical summer camp. It was a program for teens struggling with behavior issues and family conflicts. Ruby and Kevin didn't give many details, just that it was due to an accumulation of things over the years, and that Chad needed to develop some very basic maturity. The whole explanation was pretty vague and left people wondering what was really going on. Not long after, Chad dropped a bombshell in another video. He had been sleeping on a beanbag for 7 months as punishment. Why? Because he was playing pranks on his siblings. That was a turning point. Fans who had supported Ruby's strict parenting style started to feel uneasy. Sleeping on a beanbag for months seemed extreme, even for a prank. By June 2020, things escalated when concerned viewers called Child Protective Services after seeing more troubling signs in the videos. CPS did visit the Frankes' home, but nothing really came of it. Ruby's parenting methods continued to be front and centre on the channel, and so did the controversy. Later that year, a petition popped up calling for an investigation into the family. It quickly gathered almost 18,000 signatures. What once looked like a model family was now being accused of crossing serious lines. Then, in 2021, Ruby shared something that left viewers shocked. She said that she and Kevin decided not to give their 2 youngest kids any Christmas presents that year because they had been selfish. Instead, they'd have the gift of love from their parents while watching their older siblings open all the gifts. It was meant to teach them a lesson, Ruby said. But to many, it just felt cruel. That wasn't the only eyebrow-raising punishment. Ruby once mentioned that she wouldn't let her kids eat breakfast until they finished their chores, casually adding, "My kids are literally starving." Her tone was so calm and detached, it made the whole thing even more disturbing. There were also troubling stories about her youngest daughter, Eve. When her kindergarten teacher reached out because Eve had come to school without lunch, Ruby refused to bring food, saying Eve had lied about packing her own lunch.
Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
It was this kind of rigid, unyielding attitude that turned more and more viewers against her. Then came the breaking point. In August 2023, one of Ruby's sons escaped from Jodi Hildebrandt's house, one of Ruby's business partners, where he had been staying, and ran to a neighbour's house asking for food and water. The neighbour noticed duct tape on the boy's wrists and ankles and immediately called the police. The boy was taken to the hospital with severe injuries from being tied up and was also malnourished. It was a horrifying revelation that shocked everyone who had followed the family's journey online. Doorbell camera footage captured the moment the boy arrived at the neighbour's house. Seeing that the boy was emaciated and covered in wounds, the neighbour offered him water, a banana, and a chair to sit down before calling authorities. Holding back tears, the man described the boy's condition, saying he was hungry and thirsty, and waited on the phone until an ambulance arrived minutes later. Franca's son then directed police to Hildebrandt's home, where they executed a search of the property. Inside the house, they found the boy's 9-year-old sister inside a closet with her head shaved. Ruby and Jodi would be immediately arrested. On December 18, 2023, Ruby Franke pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, and just over a week later, on December 27th, her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, also pleaded guilty to the same charges. It was discovered that the kids were also forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the scorching summer heat for hours and even days, barefoot and exhausted. The abuse was so severe that the children started to believe they deserved it. Investigators discovered that Ruby and Jodi's actions were driven by a disturbing mix of religious extremism and the belief that this suffering would somehow cleanse the children of their sins. On February 20th, 2024, Judge John J. Walton sentenced both women to serve between 4 and 30 years in the Utah State Prison. Under Utah's indeterminate sentencing laws, their fate now lies with the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. Although the original 8 Passengers channel is gone, their second channel is still up. Watching those videos now, knowing what was really happening behind the scenes, is deeply unsettling. The smiles, the seemingly perfect family moments, it all feels like a sinister facade hiding the grim reality that was unfolding off camera.